At 7 o'clock. So I'll invite you to um, first hear the land acknowledgement. I've been doing some research and I really had hoped to have more time today to write up a more personal land acknowledgement. But I just want to give you a taste of some of the things that I've been reading. You know, uh, because so often a land acknowledgement can become very automatic and very rote, and then that defeats the purpose, because the purpose of the land acknowledgement is to help everyone focus and become more aware of 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 the things that we've done in this country, to our Indigenous people. Not that we should walk around feeling incredible guilt, but a little bit of um, discomfort, a little bit of recognition of the harm that's been done. Myself speaking as a white person from a privileged position and culture, Scottish and English heritage. And then, I didn't particularly, my ancestors didn't either. My folks came to this country about more than 100 years ago. But that's not, they had no real role in the colonization of this country, except that they continued it and didn't speak out about it, as no one did. And for that, I have shame. But so just to give you a taste of some of the types of acknowledgments that people have written, and I hope to write my own. I just didn't get a chance to do it today. But as I always say, we sit on the traditional territories of many great Indigenous people, all who continue to live as sovereign nations with individual and unique languages, cultures, and customs. And there was something that was written from somebody who, although they live in Hamilton currently, they grew up in this area, and they said some really interesting things. Um, where is it? I'm missing it now. Where was it? Um, yeah, yeah. So this gentleman said that his family of ancestors arrived from northern Scotland to Canada. Originally, they settled in Nova Scotia before migrating to Ontario in the early 1900s. And he said that they settled on land that was given to them, sold to them, that was basically stolen from various Indigenous people, including the Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, the Oneida Nation of the Thames, the Munsee Delaware Nation, and Caldwell Nations, all who continue to live as sovereign nations with individual unique languages, cultures, and customs today. We, living in Chatham, Kent, also recognize the unceded territory of the Bakajwang, the Walpole Island First Nation. And this gentleman went on to say, um, that his goal today is to acknowledge those who have lived and cared for the land from time immemorial. They were stewards of the land and um, and really valued and shared what they had, and that many people would not have survived coming to this land without the help and support of First Nations people. And I know last year we talked some about the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement, and I just want to reflect on that a little bit, because the meaning of that dish with one spoon is to it's such a beautiful sentiment to commit that I will take only what I need from the dish being Mother Earth, um, leaving enough for people who come after me. So respecting and caring for our land, air, and water. And it's something that this person thinks about every time they have a chance to offer thanks to those who came before them, and that we hope to do the same for those who will come after us. And then also in the spirit of reconciliation, some people speak quite in detail about how ancestors did not settle well on this land. The vast majority still struggle to acknowledge the truth of our colonial history. Um, and then they go on to say, but the tide does seem to be turning and there is an awakening underway. And that's in part what we're all trying to do by acknowledging the land that we sit on. So I just always want to give opportunity for you to reflect and consider that these land acknowledgements and the things that we say, and also our gestures towards Indigenous people, is an attempt towards truth and reconciliation. And so I guess I will invite you and to become informed about our land, the treaties, the history, the culture, and the wisdom of Indigenous people, because there is still so much to learn, wisdom that is quite beautiful and meaningful, and I don't want it to be forgotten. So I promise I will get to that. I really, it's really been.
Outlook.com lets you sign into your emails using your Hotmail,
I'm
Live.com,
sorry.
or
That's, I'm not sure where that came from, but if somebody could mute that, I think everybody I've got here is muted. I don't see anybody else who's not. So I don't know where that came from. I apologize. Hopefully that doesn't happen when we're all in our relaxed um, zone. But okay, I'm gonna move this. And I have some poetry again from Donna Ashworth. She's just such a font of wisdom and kindness and care, and it just nourishes me. So I love her messages. I'm going to read this one first because the second one I'd like to invite you to take some time to reflect on. This first one is called Decide. Just decide to love the heck out of your life. And if you truly can't, then you simply must make it more lovable. Change things around. Move things out or add things in. It's your life, and you can do that. If you really, truly cannot change things around, change the way that you see things. Change your view on the things in your life. Do whatever you need to do to get any kind of joy every day. And start now, right this minute. The future is promised to no one. What are you waiting for? This is it, my friend. This is it. All right. And now this one, which is called Be the Peace, is very timely. And when I first read it, it really, really resonated with me, and I hope that it does for you. And as I said, it's called Be the Peace. When it seems we are being dragged from one traumatic period straight into another, remember, we know what to do. We keep the fear at arm's length because we know that letting it in past its rightful place is debilitating. We keep the hope high and the kindness higher, and we go about our daily lives in the simplest, most basic of ways, being grateful for what matters and letting happiness in when it shows up. There is little we can do to control the world, but we can control our reaction to it. And we can remember that everything is temporary and anything can change in a heartbeat. So if peace is your aim, then be the peace you seek. When there is no peace to be found, you can bring it and you can be it. Very timely right now. When is it not? Okay, so a little bit of education. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna take another drink here. A little bit of education, and I know that I touched on this last season, last season. But this is a very, very helpful breathing exercise. It's called cyclic sighing, and I'm going to demonstrate it, and then we're going to do it. We're going to actually do it for 5 minutes. Where's my phone? I'll set a timer. The researchers have found that practicing this cyclic sighing for 5 minutes a day can help you to feel less anxiety and more positive emotions. And as you all are probably aware, if you're feeling anxious, you are not alone. These are very anxious times. They're very uncertain. And as we can reflect during the pandemic, rates of anxiety and depression soared around the globe. That's happening again. That's happening very much again. in a lot of places, not just in Canada, not just in the US. Um, and, this impacts all of us who provide mental health care. We have huge wait lists or wait times for therapy. But according to Stanford Medicine, there is an easy at-home way to help lower your stress level, and it's called cyclic sighing. And it's a controlled breathing exercise that emphasizes long exhalations. That long exhale is what brings the relaxation. What's more, it can take as little as 5 minutes to experience less anxiety, a better mood, and even decreased rates of breathing at rest, a sign of overall body calmness. And what they really mean by that is that, so, most of us have stressful things that happen. Maybe we're driving and a ball, rolls out into the road and we have to slam on the brakes really quick because we know for sure there's a child. So we slam on the brakes and and our heart rate gets quite elevated in that moment of stress. So you take a breath in and you relax. And if your heart rate can return to a sort of normal, more relaxed rhythm, that means that you have good heart rate variability, and that's what they're talking about as being a sign of overall health is heart rate variability. In other words, when you need to, you can rev it up, but when you need to, you can also calm it down very quickly. Sorry again. So what are we talking about when we mean this cyclic sighing? Because what are we supposed to do? Sigh? No. It goes like this. I'm going to demonstrate it, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about it. And when they say 5 minutes, they mean practice this, exercise this at least 5 minutes a day. And then when you have that good practice and your body is really, really comfortable with this breathing practice, it will be something that you can use in a moment of stress. You can take this cyclic breath and that it will help you to sort of soothe and calm. So that's the idea of the 5 minute practice. But what are we talking about when we say cyclic sighing? And it goes just like this. You're going to breathe in through your nose and you're going to fill your chest and lungs, but not overfill them. So you go like this, feels like it's full, and then you're going to take another little sippy breath in, and this can be done through your nose or your mouth, and then you're going to exhale, long slow exhale. So I'm going to show you again, breathing in, and another little, and then a long slow exhale, just like that. Okay, so that's how to do it. And if you want more information about how to do it, this cyclic sighing is all over YouTube. This article was from 2023, so it's quite a little bit. It's been practiced, it's been researched, and it's a good one. Um, so David Spiegel and a few other professors in medicine of the chair who are chairs of psychiatry and behavioral sciences at Stanford Medicine have recognized that most of the time breathing is automatic. And we do that, right? But when we bring our conscious awareness to breathing, we can do all sorts of interesting things with it. Sometimes we can breathe conscious awareness to our heartbeat and other bodily functions. But other things we don't have so much control over, but breath we can. And the interesting thing about breathing is that it has such an impact on your overall physiology and your stress response. So, as I mentioned to you, imagine that you've just experienced something stressful, that ball rolling into the road, or a stressful or critical email from a boss, or a phone call from your child's school, or something like that. As soon as you start to worry, what happens? Your heart rate speeds up. We breathe much more quickly and probably very shallowly. And you know what? Our muscles tighten. We might get a little bit sweaty. We suddenly feel kind of restless and fidgety. It's hard to sit still. For many people, this is what anxiety looks like. And for those people who have, specific anxiety disorders, these physical changes that happen when we're noticing that something's going on that we don't really like can trigger a chain reaction of thoughts and fears. And as soon as you notice this, you have a golden opportunity to tell yourself, oh, okay, this is really bad. And if it's really bad and we kind of exacerbate that, it's going to get worse and we can fear that. And then it will just spiral like a snowball rolling down the hill. But by taking charge of our breathing, we can break that cycle, and that's kind of what we're hoping to do. I'm hoping to do with you tonight is to teach you this really empowering way of breathing. And it's so easy to do, that it helps you to manage those stressors more effectively. So, again, what I love about this breathing, this cyclic sighing, is that it's so simple. Before I discovered this 2 years ago, I had this wonderful sheet of paper with about 7 or 8 different breathing exercises on them, and some of them are still really helpful, and I like to use them. But what I noticed is that sometimes they would be a little complicated, and I would also get a little stressed if I thought, oh, I don't think I did that right, or did I remember to count, or I exhaled when I should have been inhaling, and there's a little bit of complication to it. Some people really appreciate that because it kind of causes you to focus on that and distracts you from other things. But for me, I found that maybe sometimes a little not relaxing and maybe a little bit distressing. So when I discovered this technique, this is my go-to. This is the thing that I use almost all the time, and I do practice it for 5 minutes a day. It's part of my meditation routine, but also if it's 4:30 in the morning and I'm not sleeping, this is my go-to. My go-to is this breathing strategy because it's so simple and I focus on it. And then before you know it, I'm usually back to sleep. I have another little thing that I do with that. And I think I shared that with you guys last week about one of my favorite mantras that I find so helpful and it fits with this breathing. But I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So for now, as I demonstrated, you breathe in through your nose, but I've got a little bit of a stuffy nose. So if you're a little stuffy like me, you can breathe in through your mouth, but we want to sort of keep it regular. And it is ideal through your nose. There's a natural filter that works, it just seems to work better. And you notice that you're going to comfortably fill your lungs, not overfill them. So you comfortably fill your lungs. And then you're taking a second, a little bit, just a little sip of air in to expand your lungs a little bit more. And because I've been talking, I just exhaled all of that air. But when you do that, so it's like breathing in and then a little bit more, and then a long, slow exhale. Slow as you can go, until all the air is gone. And after one or two of these sighs, and we can do that right now, you can notice that you might feel a little bit calmer. So let's try that now. Just we're going to do it maybe 3 times, and you'll all do that in different ways. But I'm gonna kind of do it in my pattern, which is I tend to have a longer exhale than I guess most people. I don't know why that is. I guess because I talk a lot. I don't know. But I will try to kind of keep with that. And then we're going to practice it together for about 5 minutes. So let's just do it 3 times now because I'm curious to know and I want you to experience that change. So notice how you're feeling right now before we begin that. Notice if there's any places of tension or tightness. Okay, and now let's do that breathing in. Second time. And then one more time. And now check. What's your breath rate doing? Does it feel a little easier to breathe? Does it feel just a little bit lighter or calmer? Okay, so hopefully you see the benefit of that. And now we're going to practice for 5 minutes. Um, Why? Because I would really like to have you experience that. Um, but there's a little bit more information, and I'm just looking at our time, and we have time for me to share this with you. There's a long history of using controlled breathing in traditional practices like yoga, Tai Chi, and meditation. We're often focusing on the breath, right? Because it's always with us. And scientists are really, really beginning to understand how these breathing exercises work and which ones are the most beneficial. And I'm telling you, from my perspective, this is one that's very, very beneficial. If you have one that you like better, that's important too. So I want you to try this, and if it's not for you, that's important information, and you can do what works for you. But just so you know, this was studied by two scientists, Huberman and Spiegel, who recently led a randomized controlled trial of cyclic sighing compared to two other types of breathing exercises, one that emphasized inhalation and another asking participants to breathe in and out for equal amounts of time. So they did these sort of structured breathings. And each of the 111 healthy volunteers were asked to perform their assigned exercise for 5 minutes a day over the course of 1 month. Okay, so before and after completing their daily breathing exercises, participants answered two online questionnaires, one about anxiety and one about positive and negative affect. So these are common research tools that are used to assess people's moods. The trial also included a control group of participants who passively observed their breath. They didn't do any of this. They just sat and maybe perhaps meditated. And in mindfulness meditation, we instruct people to be aware of their breath, but not try to control it. For other groups, we ask participants to directly control their activity of breathing that normally goes on more or less automatically. Anyway, so hundreds of studies have demonstrated the benefits of mindfulness meditation for reducing stress and anxiety. And as expected, the mindfulness group reported lower anxiety and improved mood. But then they wanted to test out the cyclic sighing. So they got another control group and they taught them cyclic sighing, and they did the same thing, and they just, instead of 20 minutes or 15 minutes of mindfulness meditation, they asked these participants to do 5 minutes, just 5 minutes of cyclic sighing. Then they gave them the same tests, those things that measured anxiety and mood. And what they found was that just 5 minutes a day of cyclic sighing created the same kind of positive effects that the other control groups received. So that tells us that if you don't have 15, 20 minutes, but you've got 5 minutes to do this cyclic sighing, that it will benefit your mood and your anxiety levels. What I really like about it, what I notice, and what my patients tell me is that so they do this for 5 minutes and they have that daily practice. Then, when they are confronted by something that's very anxiety provoking, they they do just two or three of the cyclic sighs that we just practiced, and lo and behold, they feel calmer. So that's why it's kind of like a first aid thing. But like anything that's worth doing, to receive benefit from, you have to sort of practice it. And as I said, this is part of my daily meditation is cyclic sighing. And I wasn't going to talk to you guys about this tonight, but I accidentally printed two copies for a patient. And I thought, oh, the universe is trying to tell me something. So that was one of my decisions about we're going to do this. It's fairly simple. As I said, there are more complicated breathing exercises out there that give people lots of benefit, but this is a really good one that I like because it's so simple. And okay, I'm going to just set a timer because I'm not very good at keeping track of time when I'm in the zone, and I want us to do this. So again, adjust any kind of posture and make yourself comfortable. And for this one, if you can, preferably breathe through your nose and long, slow exhale through your mouth. And we're going to start that in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're going to begin that right now. We have 1 minute left. And that's my timer. I should let you know it's very normal to feel a little lightheaded after breathing like that for 5 minutes. So if you do, you're perfectly normal. If you don't, that's good. That means that you were breathing at a rate that was just right for you. And being a little lightheaded doesn't mean that you weren't breathing in the correct way. You really can't do this wrong. It just means that you were getting a really good blood oxygen exchange, and so maybe you're a little lightheaded from that, and that's not a bad thing either. Sorry. Oh. Anyway, so I will be interested if any of you want to give me feedback in emails about that practice, or if you'd like a little more information about cyclic sighing. Cyclic is just like cycle, so cyclic, Cyclic, sighing, Sighining. And just look and see what, yeah, if you want more information about it. Okay, now I'm looking for no, that's not what I had. Where did I put, oh, here it is. Okay. Because we're into March, I'm going to try and move that because I know that that light's bothering my camera there a bit. Because we're into March and we've just experienced some relaxation, I thought it might be interesting to sort of experience a meditation about growth and it sort of reflects on those things that are about to happen, that will be happening in the coming weeks as we begin to experience spring. I came across this today and I thought, how appropriate for this time. So, this is our first Tuesday night meditation in the month of March. So, I wanted to sort of take advantage of that. So, March is now. And it's a time for beginning the growth that has ceased for so long. We've experienced winter with no growth, and I like to think that all things are sleeping, all things are dormant through what's been a pretty long, cold, very snowy winter. The winter is the winteriest winter for a long time. As you listen to my voice and you hear every word that I say, you can feel more and more relaxed and feeling more and more comfortable and even perhaps warm and perhaps cradled a bit as you think about some of the images that will come to mind that I'll invite you to bring to your mind. And you can listen, you can hear, and continue in that interesting state of relaxation, which hopefully continues the relaxation and allowing you to feel more and more comfortable. So, as you know, in winter, things stay dormant for such a long time. The growth that once was happening before winter in the spring and the summer months, and even to a certain extent into the fall, it comes to a stop. And then we wait through the long winter, waiting and anticipating and looking forward to warmth longer days, more sunshine, looking forward to the renewal that will happen. We've waited a long time for this new growth cycle, the warmth of spring. We can imagine what it might be like to be a tree in these times and in this month, just waiting for the right time, to grow, for our sap to begin to flow. And you can remember the cold and the barrenness and the aloneness of being a tree during this long winter. Imagine what it must be like to endure that kind of loneliness, always standing, waiting, always waiting. And finally, the month of March arrives. Now, March is a special time, and you can feel the comfort of knowing about the strength from the fluid of growth that begins to build and builds very deeply in the roots of trees, the roots that have been dormant for so long. And it can feel so good and so comfortable, so reassuring and so warm as you sense the sunshine shining on your roots and on your trunk and on your branches and on the buds. It can feel so good, and it does start deep in the roots. Deep in the roots, you can feel it beginning, becoming stronger and more comfortable, knowing that it will all begin in earnest very, very soon. Soon, of course, can be any time, any warm day that may come as as indeed it's supposed to tomorrow be a much warmer day. An hour from now, a day from now. But especially in this month of March, you might be able to imagine and see very clearly and feel how peaceful it can feel to be a tree and experiencing growth, building deep in our roots, becoming more and more aware of the energy of the growth that moves you upward, deep in the roots. And can you perhaps allow yourself to feel that sense of growing and what that must be like? And some part of me imagines it almost as a sense of pride, growing bigger and spreading wider. Feel what you can notice with the budding of the growth in your limbs as it comes in spring. And it's comforting to know that with this growth, especially this kind of growth that happens in the spring, that it happens at just the right time. How is it that trees know how to do this? Just the right amount of time, sometimes slower against odds if there's a freak snowstorm, but very rapidly. And trees can preserve themselves, and they can take all the time that they need. Rapid growth occurs along with the budding, along with the unfolding of leaves that will be, until all is just right. When there's so much in bloom, and the blooming of the flowers and the unfolding of the leaves tells you all is growing, all is well, at just the right rate, in just the right amount of time. When so much is in full bloom, it can feel so satisfying and refreshing and rejuvenating, and it can fill us with a sense of comfort and ease and happiness and joy. Things that grow as they do, because they do, no matter what happens, they do. They never forget how they've learned to do that. They never forget what they learned. They never forget how to become dormant again and rest. They never forget that sometimes they have to rest. It takes a lot to endure the hardships of winter, but they do. They do. And it might seem kind of strange to talk about trees, growth, and springtime, but just as March comes every year, you too can feel it, even now, even now. And so, with that, I'd like to invite you to breathe very, very comfortably and think in your mind's eye of a tree that is perhaps special to you. Maybe you like to look at it and watch how it changes in the seasons, or maybe it's something that you see every day, but in your mind's eye now, think of a tree. And in this moment, imagine what's happening beneath the surface, beneath the ground, deep in the roots of the tree. And perhaps you can kind of almost sense in your own body a tingling in your toes, an aliveness that might rise from your toes, reaching your knees and your upper legs and your sit bones, in your back of your body, your lower back and buttocks, and in the front of your body, your lower abdomen and your belly, letting all of that awareness, or sap as we might want to think of it, rise, continue to rise, enriching and nourishing the tree. And in your body sensing that aliveness. And so for just a moment, allowing yourself to inhabit the tree, allowing yourself to be the tree, to feel the growth and the reassurance, and know that you've stood the test of time, you've survived this winter, and very soon there will be more growth, more rejuvenation, more joy. And so I don't know if you want to take this all the way to blossoming. You can do it however you like, whatever's going to serve you best, but imagining as your awareness rises through your body to your chest and your arms and your shoulders and your elbows and your hands and your fingers. And if that feels right, imagining that your fingers are what? More branches. And can you sense the aliveness and the growth that's going to come forth? Can you imagine for a moment what it's like to be that tree and to let the tree be you? And if this makes sense, or if it serves you and you're willing, can you imagine a breeze that's blowing and rocking you ever so slightly, ever so slightly? And this might remind you of winds that came and howled around you and pushed you and caused you to bend and maybe some branches to break. And yet, here you still stand. Here you still stand. Taking a breath in deeply, letting your sap rise, and imagining the happiness and the lightness that a tree might be feeling with these longer days and shorter nights. Allow yourself to feel the movement of the tree and the growth of the tree in your body, perhaps toggling in your mind's eye back and forth, back and forth. From the tree to your own body, just like that. And take a few more relaxing, soothing, cleansing breaths in and out and in and out. And when you're ready, coming back to awareness of your body in whatever posture you've been resting in for the last little bit. And just noticing what it was like to inhabit a tree for that little bit of time, that metaphor of the tree. So we've been sitting a bit. So if you need to adjust, always adjust, move your body around. We're just about, we're at 7:47. So we have about 13 minutes before we wrap up. And I thought tonight that we could do a loving kindness meditation because it really feels like kindness is in short supply at the moment. And so let us be the peace, let us be the change. And there's no better way to do that than, in my mind anyway, through loving kindness meditation. So those of you who I think have tuned in a few times now are probably very familiar with this, but I see a few people who might not have ever done this before. And so I'm just going to run through how loving kindness meditation works. We have some loving kind intentions that I will offer, that I will repeat, and I repeat them 3 times. You may choose to repeat them 3 times silently to yourself, or if you're sitting alone, you can say them out loud. But there's something very powerful in the number 3. And I think that that's throughout history in many different cultures, the number 3 is a very magical, powerful number. So that's why we do it in loving kindness meditations. Um, but it starts like this. I say, may all beings everywhere, including myself, be. And then I offer 3 loving, kind intentions. And I repeat them once. And then usually I repeat them a second time with a little bit more explanation. You don't have to repeat that part. You just stick with the more succinct part. And that's how that will be. And you'll see how this goes. When we go through loving, kind, there's usually 4, but I might, if we have time, if time allows, let you create your own, because it's always powerful to do something personal as well. So let's begin. I hope that's understandable for all of you. You'll figure it out as we go along too. But as I mentioned, it starts like this. The first thing, may all beings everywhere, including myself, and we must include ourselves, may all beings everywhere, including myself, be happy. May all beings everywhere, including myself, be happy. And what do we mean by happy? We mean, may we live with playful, joyful, free heart, mind, body, and spirit. May all beings everywhere, including myself, be happy. And we take a breath in, breathing in very deeply. And when we exhale, we imagine that those words, that loving, kind intention, travels outside of our bodies into the rooms we're sitting in, and outside of the rooms in our homes and into our communities, and even beyond, into our country, into our continent, North America, into our planet, into the universe, that far, on and on and on. May all beings everywhere, including myself. The next loving, kind intention that I'd like to offer goes like this. May all beings everywhere, including myself, be healthy. May all beings everywhere, including myself, be healthy. What do we mean by this? That means that may we all be healthy and have a body-mind that gives energy and strength and healing and wisdom. May all beings everywhere, including myself, be healthy. And we breathe in very deeply. And as we exhale, imagine the power of those loving, kind words travels outside of our homes and into our communities and into the world, to be received by all beings everywhere. And the third loving, kind intention that I'd like to offer tonight goes like this. May all beings everywhere, including myself, be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere, including myself, be free from suffering, which means suffering from the inner burdens that we create sometimes and the outer burdens that happen to us from people knowingly or unknowingly. May all beings everywhere, including myself, be free from suffering. And we take a breath in, a deep breath in. And as we exhale, imagine the power of those words traveling to all beings everywhere, from our hearts to theirs, just like that, and the power of those words. And the last loving, kind intention that I'd like to offer you tonight But since there's time, I'm going to invite you to create one of your own. Yeah, maybe we do that now, and we'll do the last one we'll do that next. So in this next moment, taking a little bit of time right now to think of something that is perhaps tender in your heart, something that you've experienced or witnessed, or something that's on your mind of concern. And there's so much right now. But thinking of something that's very personal to you, this can be about your loved ones, or it can be about people you don't know, people everywhere, the Ukraine, the Palestinians, the Israelis. We welcome everyone into our tent, don't we? But thinking of something that you would like to offer to all beings everywhere, and I'll give you some time to do that. Maybe about 30 seconds of clock time, thinking of what you'd like to create for a loving, kind intention. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's about 30 seconds. So repeat it. Repeat it 3 times with the words, may all beings everywhere, including myself, be. And then you repeat it 3 times, just the way that we have been doing. Give you time to do that. And then you take a deep breath in. And when you exhale, you imagine the power of those words leaving your body, entering the room you're sitting in your home, in your community, the street that you're on, everywhere around, in your town, in your city, in your province, in your country, in your continent, in your hemisphere, in the world, and beyond. Imagine those loving, kind intentions circling the globe, the golden, beautiful light, just like that. And that leaves us the last loving, kind intention. And you may find that this was something that you were creating and wishing for yourself or not. May all beings everywhere, including myself, be peaceful and generous and kind and wise. May all beings everywhere, including myself, be peaceful. And what we mean is may all beings everywhere live with ease and grace of acceptance, forgiveness, self-energy, kindness, 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 and well-being. May all beings everywhere, including myself, be peaceful. Breathing in very deeply now. And send that loving, kind intention out on the breath. Let it travel far and wide to be received by people everywhere who are in need of peace, calm, wisdom, generosity. Letting it be received. with that, our last loving, kind intention, I will say that it's been really lovely to hang out with you this evening and practice these meditations and these visualizations and loving kindness intentions. And I just want to say namaste. I'm looking at all of your names on my screen. And I just want to thank you for being here tonight and practicing in this way.